everybody, and welcome to another episode of Miscellanea Macabre. The 4th, 5th, I don't remember. I know this episode is late, and I promise we'll figure out why it was late, but as always, we're here to show off everything that I've collected over the past month, which was June, even though I know, again, video's late, it's very early July, so we'll probably get 2 episodes this month. But regardless, we're going to look at everything I picked up from both, or not both, sorry, there are multiple places. We've got the Dollar Tree, we've got the thrift store, Walmart, Amazon, and I want to say eBay and GameStop as well, because today we're looking at some games. So let's just jump right into the first stuff that we got from the Dollar Tree, the DVDs. First up is a movie called Termination, which I know looks pretty low budget, but I actually kind of like the way it looks. I know it's very like cyberpunk and neon demon-y kind of mix, but I'm all for this kind of stuff. I don't know. I'm very I always like picking up movies with a lot of cool like neon-looking cinematography and stuff. Oh, hello! You can see me in the little reflection. Anyway, yeah, no, I'm always really excited by this type of stuff. Just cool sci-fi, movies and whatever. And this is 6 short sci-fi stories about space, interdimensional threats, and murder, told by the storytellers all over the world. Why did I add the word the? Either way, yeah, this looks fun. Unlike a lot of the Echo Bridge garbage that I bought the last every episode, this looks just like some very low budget stuff that could be fun from a company called High Octane, as well as HP, Harry Potter, and some other weird logo there that I don't recognize. Kind of looks like an F or a T. I don't know. Cloudwalkers Entertainment, maybe? Hughes Pictures? Either way. Yeah. So, can't wait to check this one out. $1.25 also, so can't really be too mad about it if it's not that great, but also, let's see, it's 86 minutes, so super short. Alright. Next up, you guys know I love to collect horror movies, so we've got The Devil's Candy, which, sorry, I did kind of start opening at the bottom, from the producers of You're Next and Blair Witch. And I'm pretty sure that's Blair Witch is in the remake, not the Blair Witch Project from the 90s or 1999. Metal rules, but hell is eternal. I don't know what to expect about this. Maybe it's some kind of cool metal, like death metal rock and roll horror movie, which I'm always down for that. Maybe I'll save it for Halloween to actually check it out till then, but yeah, $1.25. This I saw a couple copies of, but it seemed to be one of the ones that was going out pretty quickly. We're gonna look at the back images. Yeah, this was one that seemed to be going out pretty quickly because I saw it. I saw a couple copies of it, and then I picked it up at the same time, and then I didn't see any more copies of it at all. So yeah, this was released by both Scream Factory and IFC, what does it say, Hindsight? Well, IFC Films in general. Oh, Midnight. Man, I can't read. Yeah, looks fun. Next up was a movie that I actually had seen before, and I was super happy to find it at the Dollar Tree. Ray, starring Zoe Bell and Rachel Nichols. May the best woman win. I believe Sherilyn Fenn and Doug Jones are also both in it. Yeah, there they are, right there. Look at that. This is a very cool action movie, mostly just kind of stunt choreography. Basically, these girls get kidnapped and they're kind of put in like a death game meant for the entertainment of a bunch of rich viewers. So check this one out if you haven't. It's super fun. Got like really good, fun action scenes. Nothing crazy exciting like story-wise. There's no amazing twists or anything like that. At least none that I can remember. It has been a little while, but gladly I bought it on DVD because it looks really cool. This is another one of those IFC midnight releases in tandem with Scream Factory, I believe. Or maybe this one wasn't, actually. No, it wasn't. Well, what do you know? Even though they're in the same kind of clear box. If you see this one, pick it up. Super fun. If you like action movies. Not really horror. I know it kind of looks like a horror movie. There's a little bit of gore and violence, obviously, but I would argue that it's more played for the brutality of it and not like a horror movie type thing. So don't go into this expecting horror. Expect fun action. Next up was another movie I saw back when it came out, Ingrid Goes West, again, also on DVD. Couldn't find the Blu-rays of a lot of stuff this time around, but I did find some. Whoops. Yeah, no, Ingrid Goes West was a really fun movie. Aubrey Plaza putting off a really good performance of kind of a crazy obsessed woman. Elizabeth Olsen and O'Shea Jackson Jr. also do a pretty good job too in this movie if you haven't seen it. Basic premise, I don't know if I really want to give it away. a delicious pitch black. I wouldn't call it pitch black. It is pretty dark, but I don't know if it's pitch black. But Aubrey Plaza is following Elizabeth Olsen. She is like a famous Instagram star, just an internet personality in general. Elizabeth Olsen. Aubrey Plaza starts following her and decides she wants to go and be famous just like her and become her best friend. You can kind of assume what happens afterwards. It's super fun. Also, there's everyone's favorite logo, Certified Fresh Rotten Tomatoes. I've been seeing a lot of discussion about that logo on DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff. We'll get to something later on afterwards. That has a perfect case of that little logo being put on it, and personally I don't mind, but we'll talk about it more then. Anyway, check this one out if you haven't. Super fun, super funny. I would say this is a little more comedic than most people would expect. I know it says pitch black comedy, but it's a little more outright funny and humorous, so yeah. This also has a very good little message towards the end of it that can hammer home with certain people about certain online communities. Anyway, next up was one I opened, but I actually didn't get a chance to watch. How to Talk to Girls at Parties, starring Elle Fanning, Alex Sharp, and Nicole Kidman. Sorry, what does it say? And Ed. I think it's like a Canadian release, so yeah. Oh yeah, there you go. It's right at the bottom in French. Basically, punk rock movie in the 70s, except aliens. And aliens trying to figure out how to live on Earth. Seems kind of funny. I wanted to watch it because I believe the director is the same one who directed Hedwig and the Angry Inch, which also was a movie I never got to see, so I have to watch both. But yeah, $1.25, why not? Last of the Dollar Tree DVDs, honestly, there wasn't a lot at the Dollar Trees I went to this past month. I did try to get some stuff, and I did find some interesting stuff. So the last of the DVDs, Russell Crowe in something called Heaven's Burning. Vengeance takes no prisoners. This seems fun, and also I just like the way this cover looks. It seems very 90s while also trying to mimic like modern day movie posters and stuff like that. So, you love when you see companies release movies doing this type of thing. I also like this very Mad Max looking thing, even though I think it takes place in modern day. Let's see. In Sydney, the newly married Midori is honeymooning with her husband Yukio. She does not love him and fakes her own kidnapping to escape the marriage. Her lover is supposed to meet her but fails to appear. She goes to a bank to get some cash, only to become a hostage in an unfolding robbery until the getaway driver, Colin, saves her from his fellow robbers. They hit the road together with the cops, her husband, and the robbers in pursuit. Yeah, seems fun. Can't wait to check this one out. I like fun little action movies. This reminds me of a movie that I can't remember the name of, but it starred Charlie Sheen, I believe in the 90s, maybe the 80s. I think it was the 90s, where he sort of like kidnaps a woman or holds her hostage while making her drive a car, and then it's sort of a case of Stockholm Syndrome type thing. This reminds me of that, at least by the way it sounds and looks, so can't wait to check it out. Check that other one out if you haven't either. Alright, next up is the Blu-rays I found at the Dollar Tree. De Niro vs. Stallone, Grudge Match, starring, De Niro and Stallone, Kevin Hart, Alan Arkin, Kim Basinger, and John Bernthal. This is very obvious as to why this is done. It's supposed to be Jake LaMotta versus Rocky Balboa type thing. What would you call it? A reunion? Not even a reunion. Reunion implies that they were together the first time. Regardless, it's supposed to be, very on the nose, like, hey, look, these two people who were in some very famous boxing movies. So yeah, I haven't checked this one out. It seems to be more comedy focused, especially with Kevin Hart in there as well. I don't know what the purpose of this movie is, honestly. Rocky is a character, like, I know this isn't a Rocky movie, obviously, but it kind of feels like a Rocky adjacent thing where it's like, shouldn't we be done doing Rocky Balboa? Or rather, Stallone Balboa. And Robert De Niro's so old. I can't imagine this is that funny, but anyway. Also, I like the special features here. Legends of the Ring featuring Ringside with Tyson and Holyfield and Blow by Blow with Larry Holmes. These aren't real boxers, guys. These are actors. They're actors. Next up is another movie that seems to be, yet again, more comedy-focused, CBGB, which is the home of punk rock in New York, starring a whole lot of people. In fact, I'll just kind of leave it there while I talk about it. CBGB was a very famous punk rock club in the 70s that was started in New York, I believe in New York, at least the East Coast of the United States, and it was a big starting ground for that punk movement that started then and kind of blew up everywhere, bringing a lot of the stuff that was going on overseas and bringing it here and making it our own. Yeah. So, let's see. Oh, sorry. It's not just punk rock. It's country, bluegrass, and blues music. I guess that makes sense. See, I've never known. I just want to watch it. Hopefully this is good, because I kept seeing this everywhere. This was a movie that, a Blu-ray that I saw a lot of copies of and was like, I guess I'll pick it up then. Give it one, check out. Plus, I really like Alan Rickman. Alan Rickman's a really good actor. Yeah. Next up, another Blu-ray, Bel Canto, starring Julianne Moore and Ken Watanabe, both Academy Award nominees, one an Academy Award winner. Let's see. Based on the best-selling novel, a famous opera singer is held hostage in South America by a guerrilla rebel group after performing at a Japanese businessman's lavish birthday party. Unexpected bonds are forged in the standoff that ensues. Oh, another Stockholm Syndrome film. I actually didn't realize I did that. Soundtrack available on Deca Gold. Wow, that's really big. That's bigger than most of the information on the movie. There's barely anything about the characters, about the history. Searing and artful, says LA Weekly. Not a lot to go on, but you know what? I'm okay with leaving these ambiguous. I'll give this one a watch. Next up is a Blu-ray of a movie I actually have watched, Bad Words, starring Jason Bateman, I believe directed by him too, if I can find out quickly. Yes, directed by him as well. Bad Words is an odd movie, sometimes funny, sometimes just kind of there, maybe a little annoying even. Basically, Jason Bateman plays a terrible person. Hey, what's new? Anyway, Jason Bateman plays a character who goes to spelling bees because he has found a loophole that allows him to compete, and he chooses to compete against a bunch of kids to win money. A lot of people don't like it. They get incredibly angry by him. But then slowly towards the end of the movie, maybe he starts to grow a heart because he starts to befriend a little kid. Anyway, like I said, sometimes very funny, sometimes just kind of, a movie, I guess. Not really that funny, just kind of a chore to get through, I guess. Give it a chance if you, seem interested in it. Obviously, don't take my words for any kind of real criticism. I mean, obviously, I'm giving my opinion, but, if you want to watch it, give it a chance. And if you see it at the Dollar Tree, pick it up as well, because you get the Blu-ray, the DVD, and the digital code, which I think I've already redeemed and used. So, yeah. Honestly, though, if I had to say for the directorial stuff, like the actual cinematography, handling, and everything, not bad. Just sometimes not that funny. And the last of the Blu-rays I picked up at Dollar Tree, told you, not that many big things at the Dollar Tree this past month. Kind of seems like they're on a lull waiting for new stock, but Big Fish and Begonia, a Chinese animated film, Two Worlds, One Destiny. This was released by Shout Factory, one of the companies that I would have said was my favorite until recently. They started doing some weird stuff. We'll get into it later. But yeah, this seems interesting. Kind of reminds me of Ponyo, the Ghibli film, but weirder. I did happen to actually pick this up on DVD a while ago, and I forgot I did, and it's put away somewhere, but now I have the Blu-ray DVD version. I did pick up a couple animated features last month, as we saw from the Shout Factory, or not last month, sorry, 2 months ago. So this seems to be another one of those ones, just not under the G-Kids label, so we'll see what this is all about. Alright, next up, like I mentioned previously in the intro, I had actually taken a trip to the thrift store, so excuse the quality of some of these. I haven't had a chance to actually clean some of them up, but we got Punch Drunk Love, the 2-disc special edition DVD, which slides out, has this really, neat little slipcover, which we'll look at the back of really quickly. There you go. As well as this very cool fold-out type thing that just... Oh, everything's just kind of falling out of it now. Yeah. Punch Drunk Love was a really good movie directed by Paul Thomas Anderson that came out in the early 2000s, and it was one of the first ones that made people realize Adam Sandler could actually do serious performances, and it was really nice and interesting to see him actually pull off something that a lot of people resonated with, a character that has a lot of insecurities and anxieties that people resonated with, and the way he reacts is very human in this movie. So if you've seen Uncut Gems, or I don't know what the name of the movie that just came out was on Netflix with like him as a basketball coach, which seemed to be another one which is very serious for him. But if you've seen those or haven't seen this at all, give this one a watch. It's absolutely really good. Paul Thomas Anderson's a very good director. Sometimes a little polarizing if you watch certain movies. I won't name them though. But yeah, both Adam Sandler and Emily Watson pull off a really good performance. Next up was a Japanese movie I had actually been looking for a long time, and I happened to run across it at a thrift store, Returner. I still haven't seen it because all my attempts to try and find this movie online, even through some funner means, couldn't find it, but I found this copy of it that came out in, 2004 it seems. Yeah, this is cool. I mean, I was so excited to see this when I saw it like this, the spine on the shelves at the thrift store. I didn't know. I was like, oh my god, that can't be the same movie I'm thinking of. Sure enough, it was. Seems like a very fun Japanese action movie. Kind of reminds me of Versus, if anyone's ever seen that. I know that just got a release from Arrow not that long ago. But yeah, super cool sci-fi action movie, very stylish feeling, so can't wait to watch this finally after so long. Next up was a Disney movie classic, Tower of Terror on DVD, although I believe this copy of it was actually pretty messed up, so I still have to find a replacement disc, but still, happy to own the box. Tower of Terror starring Steve Guttenberg and Kirsten Dunst. Haven't seen this in a long time. I think I was like maybe 8 years old, 7 years old the last time I saw this movie on Disney Channel, so long time ago. But yeah, I love these, like, this era of Disney Channel, Disney movies where they were just trying anything, even if it was a lower budget, just to do something fun, and give certain people chances just to tell fun little movies, even if it was based on, Disney properties that were already owned. At least they tried to do something interesting with it, as opposed to making a sequel to Hocus Pocus 2, which it doesn't need. Next up, even though I told myself I'd wait to buy these until I watched them, I did happen to pick this one up at the thrift store because I thought, it's pretty cool. Blue Velvet, directed by David Lynch, starring Kyle MacLachlan, Isabel Rossellini, Dennis Hopper, and Laura Dern. This is a special edition version that has a pretty beat-up slipcover, but I don't mind it, more so just because I like having a copy of these movies. But yeah, like I said, I've been slowly making my way through David Lynch's filmography as well as a lot of other filmmakers' filmography, so I've been waiting before buying any of them just in case that I don't like certain movies. I don't want to just buy them and then regret the purchase. So yeah, I usually wait till I watch the movie, at least from a lot of filmmakers. Not always, sometimes I do just take the occasional blind buy opportunity, but yeah. This was super cheap. I happened to pick it up because I saw how beat up it was, but I like the special edition version because it looks very cool. So yeah, when I finally get to this one, I'll be happy to probably own this if I end up liking the movie, hopefully. Alright, next up was actually a season of a TV show that I like, that I don't know if many people still do. American Horror Story Season 1, otherwise known as Haunted House, I believe, after the fact. Yeah. American Horror Story was a TV show that at once meant something and was actually pretty good, but then I don't know what happened, so yeah. But if you haven't seen American Horror Story and you are into horror stuff, the first 3 seasons I can absolutely recommend. Everything after that, I don't know or care. I think I watched a little bit of Freak Show and then I kind of gave up, but when I saw this DVD of the first season at the thrift store, I thought to myself, well sure, I actually really enjoyed this season. Super fun. It tells a lot of really fun and interesting character vignettes involving a family that's moving into a new house. So yeah. Also, it's pretty much on every streaming service. I think Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Hulu have it. So if you can't find, physical copies or don't want to, you can probably stream it on pretty much anything. And now the only Blu-ray I happened to find at the thrift store, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, a fun little summer blockbuster action movie that doesn't take itself that seriously, but when it does, man, is it funny. This was super fun. I think the reason I saw this in the movie theater with a friend of mine was because of the produced by Tim Burton, or Tim Burton Presents, and we thought, man, it'll be like a Tim Burton movie, and it was nothing like it, but that doesn't mean it wasn't fun. The action in this movie is really fun, and also it's just, now that I'm older, fun to laugh at. It's just a really funny movie, the absurdity of having Abraham Lincoln be a vampire hunter. It tells a really funny story, and it even tells all the way up to when the Civil War started for Abraham Lincoln. So yeah, and I think it ends with like a final, and now he's off to the theater, very funny cliche type thing. So check this one out if you haven't. Very fun, kind of blockbustery action movie. Nothing exciting like as far as surprising or anything. Just fun. That's all I can say. Fun. And now something I do every once in a while, take a look at the games I happen to pick up this month. First, we've got a slipcover copy of Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, which I have yet to play, although a lot of people in my family have been recommending this one to me heavily, so yeah. Happened to find a copy of this on eBay with the slipcover, and I was like, it has a slipcover? Then it started making me think, do more PS4 games have slipcovers? Do I need to go back and collect PS4 games with slipcovers? Either way, Ninja Theory is a company that made this game that sometimes makes good games, and sometimes I'm very confused by them. Heavenly Sword, not good. Enslaved Odyssey to the West, kind of fun. The awful DMC reboot, I think I just said what I think about it. So yeah, but I can't wait to check this one out because it kind of seems like they're actually trying to take this one more seriously. I know also I'm talking about a game now that came out years ago, but still, looks fun. Next up was something I picked up that was originally on the PS3 and I did have, but I figured I'd pick it up on the PS4 too. Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. I've been trying to make my way through the Tomb Raider series again. This most recent trilogy because I know Square Enix just sold off the rights to Lara Croft and Tomb Raider. So I figured I'd go through them again, and I figured start with the game that I started with in 2012 or 2013, whenever it came out, which was the first Tomb Raider. So yeah. So far what I think of it, the remaster, I guess, or the definitive edition, it looks okay. Nothing crazy. Not that much of an upgrade to the PS4. I mean, it does look better, but not that much better. Next up was something I had wanted for a while, Yakuza 0. Yeah, the prequel game that had come out on the PS3, I think, in Japan, and they were like, well, let's put it on the PS4 for people in America, and it is pretty much the reason why this series is selling well, because of this game being localized for Americans properly, as opposed to like the Yakuza 3 and 4, which had limited releases on the PS3 here in the US, but they finally took a chance with this one, and well, what do you know, it was a PlayStation hit. So yeah, figured I'd pick it up and finally play it for myself, because there are a lot of fun Let's Plays I've watched of this game, and I do like the Yakuza series a lot anyway. So yeah, if you haven't checked these games out, I guess the best way I can describe them is they're sort of beat-em-ups, but with a very heavy influence of sort of visual novel-ish stuff. You'll go around and find characters that will ask you to do things, maybe like fetch questing times, but sometimes some really fun mini games come out of it, or some fun rewards, with a very serious wraparound story otherwise, but it knows when to have fun with itself. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out, check it out. Last of the PS4 games I picked up, Star Wars Squadrons. The last EA Star Wars game, maybe? No, actually, wait, I think the new Jedi game is coming out, the Respawn one. Anyway, yeah, this seemed really fun. First-person, sort of X-Wing TIE Fighter-ish kind of thing on the PS4. Came out in 2020, and it was like a budget title, but it's actually super fun. I've played a little bit of the story mode. It's okay. Not amazing, but I like the idea of having multiple characters thrown in and out of the story for you to play with, so yeah, not that bad. If you haven't checked this one out, check it out. I like flying in Star Wars games, and this one was, done in partnership with Motive, which, come on. Oh no, camera. Anyway, Motive. Motive was the company that worked with EA and DICE to do the flying controls in Battlefront 2, which had some of the best flying Star Wars games I've ever had. It's some of my best stuff. I love that version of it, even if you don't like Battlefront 2 anymore. Go back and check it out for that stuff. They did the controls for this, and it feels amazing. You can also shut off all HUD and hints towards anything to help you like fly, so you have to go fully manual and just figure everything out. Super fun. If I had a VR, I'd definitely give it a try, but I don't. Maybe I will someday. But for now, yeah, Star Wars Squadrons. Next up are some Blu-rays I picked up for myself, personal choice things that I wanted. Raw, probably my favorite movie of 2016. Belgian movie, I believe, not French. Belgian, Julia Durkanau, who is now the director of Titania, I think is how you say the movie's name. Sorry if I got it wrong. Raw was her first movie that she did, and I didn't know that Scream Factory did a release of it here in the US, so I picked it up as soon as I saw that and found that out, because this movie is fantastic. The basic summary is our main character, our main actress character, finds out a dark secret about herself, which is that she likes to feed on human beings. And everything else from then on is a fun ride. I will not ruin the rest of it for you. I know that sounds like a massive spoiler, but I promise you it is not. It is barely the start of this movie. But yeah, super fun. Check this one out. Very good horror movie. Like I said, probably my favorite horror movie 2016. I'd have to look at the list of them, but maybe I'm putting it up on screen what my favorite is here. I'll leave it blank for myself. Editor me here. So originally I was just gonna put like 1 or 2 pictures up on screen or something, but when I looked at the list I kind of regretted it because I'm not gonna be able to put all of these up. So just to name the ones that came out in 2016 that I liked that are horror movies, there were a lot that year. The Neon Demon, Don't Breathe. There was also The Witch, which technically came out in 2015, but was officially released a year later, so I think that one might blow it out of the water. There was also, what was the other one I was looking at? Oh, right, 10 Cloverfield Lane, Hush. Hush was great, even if it wasn't, like, amazingly, perfect or something. Yeah, I would say it was still up there as like favorite horror movies of that year. Definitely one that I've seen multiple times since it came out. There was also The Autopsy of Jane Doe that came out, Train to Busan, Split, Split, the M. Night Shyamalan one. I mean, there were just so many really good horror movies in 2016, and I just severely regret saying that Raw was my favorite. I would say that Raw is technically my favorite because it was one of the ones that like stuck with me after, but if The Witch is in there, then The Witch counts. It's between The Witch or the Neon Demon, and I'm gonna say The Witch, but Raw came really close. I would say Raw's probably like 2 or 3. Anyway, back to the video. Next up, another Scream Factory release, Sleepaway Camp, a horror movie from the 80s that I haven't had a chance to watch, that everyone and their mothers says, that movie was crazy. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I gotta check it out now. I'm a little upset that I didn't get it with the slipcover, but not that much, to be honest. So, yeah, 80s horror movie seems to be very, like, in the vein of the like cabin stuff, the camp stuff. So yeah, can't wait to check it out. This looks cool. As everyone who collects physical media knows, and if you don't, you will now, July is the half-price sale for a lot of Criterion stuff over at Barnes & Noble, and Amazon tends to follow suit and cut a lot of the prices of things, so I'm going to pick 2 things up. Twin Peaks Firewalk with me. Now, I know what I said about David Lynch stuff earlier, but if you know from a past episode, I'm actually a big fan of Twin Peaks. And this has both Firewalk with Me and The Missing Pieces, of which I've seen both, so I wanted to pick up a physical copy of it. Funny that a lot of people who buy Criterion stuff tend to buy David Lynch stuff, although, sometimes you buy some other things too. But yeah, Firewalk with Me, a very good movie. Very sad and somber movie, but also completely understanding. And from what a lot of people have told me, it was not generally well received when it came out, which I think is sad because it's a really good movie, and I know that people probably wanted it to continue the Twin Peaks story because of the way the show ended, but I'm okay with it not ending, or not continuing that story, even though it does in a lot of ways. But yeah, I'm more so excited to have this, I mean, obviously for Firewalk with Me, but more so because it also has the copy of, or not a copy, but rather a release of The Missing Pieces, which is all the deleted scenes cut together into an hour-and-a-half movie, which was its own interesting ride to go through. I'd love to see what those scenes would be like if they were put back in the movie, like in the places where they were originally intended to be. I think one of the big problems I have with Firewalk with Me and why I think The Missing Pieces is really important is there's a very important scene starring Philip Jeffries, or involving Philip Jeffries, who is played by David Bowie, that is kind of cut away in the original movie, and I feel like that's a scene that was really needed, especially with the way the show continued on later. So yeah. The other big thing I happened to pick up from the Criterion sale was this, Bruce Lee, His Greatest Hits, this awesome box set of all of the great Bruce Lee movies that came out that were pretty much the things that made him super popular. I'd love to pull this whole fold out, but it's huge. It's really big. It's got really good art on it. It also comes with this cool little booklet, which sadly mine got a little crushed, but I'm okay with it. Yeah, Bruce Lee, probably one of my favorite stars from when I was a kid. My dad used to watch him all the time, and I figured, well, I gotta find a way to own all that stuff on Blu-ray. And when I saw that Criterion released it, and then I waited for it to go half off, I was super excited. Also, something that I wanted to talk about really quickly, though, Bruce Lee and his greatest hits, and while this does include every single one of his really exciting movies on there, there is something that is missing, which I don't blame Criterion for not releasing, but there is something that is missing from Bruce Lee's history that I feel like should be released in some way. And when I happen to look it up, it doesn't have any physical releases, which is, if I can pull this out to hopefully leave some images, the Green Hornet. The Green Hornet was a really big and important moment for Bruce Lee in the 50s, or not 50s, sorry, for Bruce Lee in the 60s and 70s, the late 60s, early 70s. It was the first show that had introduced him to a lot of American audiences that people didn't know who he was, and it was incredibly exciting. And I used to watch Green Hornet a lot when I was a kid on one of those old retro TV channels that used to show episodes of it. And I found out there's no official release of any DVDs or Blu-rays or anything at all, so it kind of sucks that there's no Green Hornet anywhere. So yeah, maybe I'll start a petition or try to find out who owns the rights and say, send an email or something and go, hey, where's Green Hornet? Green Hornet's really important in Bruce Lee and to Bruce Lee and his filmography and stuff, and we have all his movies now except for some of the early ones, but those aren't too big. But the Green Hornet, where's the Green Hornet? All right, and the moment you've been waiting for, the two movies that I happened to buy at the last second that caused this episode to be late, Spirited Away and Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. Sorry I can't show both at the same time, but as you can see, both sealed, both with the slipcover. These took forever because they happened to go from let's see, I think it was, California, then to Florida, then to Chicago, which doesn't make any sense, but here we are now. These are the G Kids releases from Shout Factory, not Scream Factory, same company, you know what I mean though. But this is the G Kids release of the Ghibli collection from Shout Factory. I happened to find these two for super cheap. Someone had put them up both at the same time, each with the slipcover. Obviously you can see just a little damage up at the top, which I don't really blame because blame the seller. This was, sealed. This is still sealed. Nausicaa, on the other hand, has a couple pretty good things. You can see one little white speck there and some other stuff. But regardless, I love these two animated movies. Obviously, a lot of people grew up with Spirited Away, and I remember Spirited Away being one of the ones that I had rented all the time from Hollywood Video. But Nausicaa was one that I had watched later on in my life, and I loved it a lot because just some really fun and exciting sci-fi ideas while having some crazy ending moments and action scenes that are they kind of remind me of things that came later on that maybe don't necessarily borrow from it but seem at least inspired. And I think the biggest one I can name is something like Avatar, as in the James Cameron Avatar. Very environmentalist heavy messages, but that's okay with me. I like the idea of it here more so than Avatar though. But yeah, check these two out if you haven't. I've never heard the English dub of Nausicaa, so I didn't know it had Uma Thurman, Patrick Stewart, Alison Lohman, Edward James Olmos, and Shia LaBeouf in it, which is super interesting. Spirited Away, I've never heard the Japanese dub of, so that'll be exciting. Yeah. If there are two others that I wanted to pick up with these type of slipcovers were Princess Mononoke and Grave of the Fireflies, but I found out that I don't think Shout Factory has the ability to license out Grave of the Fireflies, which is weird, but yeah. And now finally the moment I've been waiting for to talk about all of the 4Ks I happened to pick up this past month, which were a lot. But I will start with the one that does technically count as July, Everything Everywhere All at Once, with this awesome googly eye slipcover. Yeah, and to be fair, I did talk about it in that video beforehand, and yes, the cover art for it also features it too. It's all white, although I have to fix this because you can see they really did not put it in there properly, the paper. But regardless, yeah, this was an awesome movie that came out this past year, which if you haven't seen it, man, you absolutely should see it. It's such a good, emotionally resonant movie, and also incredibly hilarious at times, and it's got everyone's favorite certified fresh Rotten Tomatoes logo on it. I've been seeing a lot of heavy discussion as to whether that's a good thing. A lot of people who have hated it and have put googly eyes over it. Honestly, I'm not going to put a googly eye over it because that'll just ruin the slipcover on my shelf. I don't want it to bulge out, and also, more importantly, I don't care. This is fine. I don't necessarily agree with Rotten Tomatoes scoring of a lot of things. Notoriously, you guys know that I don't watch trailers or read reviews for movies before I watch them ever, because I just don't like to. So I don't even really care about the opinion of Rotten Tomatoes' thing on movies. Yeah, it would be nice if it weren't there and there were a googly eye, but at the same time, I don't care. Either way, fantastic movie, awesome release from Walmart that was exclusive to them, that I assume a lot of people will probably end up picking up, if not picking up the normal release, which has that okay-ish red cover. There's a reason I wanted this one, though, more specifically, but yeah. Next up, another big release on 4K that I actually had to look a lot of places for and could only find one really beat-up copy of, the Northman on 4K. As you can see, this slipcover did not survive a lot of good things. It took a couple big dings, but yeah, this was a fun movie. I'm a really big fan of Robert Eggers. Maybe we'll find out a little bit more at the end of the month. But either way, the Northman was super fun. Not as heavy as not as heavy as both The Witch and The Lighthouse, obviously. But I don't mind a fun Viking-y Norse action movie. A Nordic, rather, action movie. Also, getting Bjork out of her acting retirement into the middle of this movie was super fun. Just to see her and hear her voice was very exciting. So check this one out if you haven't. Just a very fun action movie. If you weren't a fan of The Witch or The Lighthouse, I think you might enjoy this one a little more. This is definitely a little more open to people as opposed to the other ones. So yeah, check it out. Next up is one I didn't actually happen to pick up on 4K when it originally came out because I wanted to wait for it to be a little cheaper, and gladly I did find it for cheaper. Dune. Dune is probably one of my favorite books of all time, and when I heard Denis Villeneuve was doing was directing the adaptation version of it for the new age, I was so excited. So, ta-da! This was an awesome movie, and this is an awesome 4K. If you haven't watched your disc version of it, please. It's so much better than those streams on HBO. It looks so much better on physical disc. Yeah, Dune is awesome. There's really nothing else to say. If you haven't seen it, see it. If you have seen it, don't you just love it, right? There are obviously a couple little things and differences between the book and this movie that I don't mind most of them, especially I don't mind the change of the way they make Duncan Idaho seem. I like the idea of having him be more action-oriented and whatever. That's very okay. There is one change that I don't care for, but I won't get into it. But yeah, this was a super fun movie, and I will probably end up watching it again by the end of the month. Next up, another 4K I picked up, Inglourious Basterds, a film by Quentin Tarantino. I'm not gonna lie, don't know why I picked this one up on 4K. I love this movie, and I do have it on Blu-ray already, and I think I even have it on DVD because I've had it 3 times now. I'm a crazy person, I know. But when I picked up this 4K, I was very excited. I was like, oh man, this will be great on 4K. This movie's fantastic. It's okay. I think they could have done a little better with the film transferring of the movie itself on 4K. I think it could have looked a lot better. I think the big reason, the big buying thing, which I am ultimately happy to have it for this, which is the HDR, which they don't advertise on the cover, which is actually kind of nice, different for change, but yeah. The HDR definitely does improve the way this movie looks, and the sound too. The sound is definitely a lot better this time around, but if you're someone who already has this movie on Blu-ray and are thinking about picking this up on 4K, just know that you're really only buying it for the HDR upgrade. It's otherwise okay. Another day, another 4K, and one that I absolutely needed to have on 4K because it is one of my favorite movies of all time. I don't care what anyone says. I know it's not perfect. Interstellar, directed by Christopher Nolan. I love this movie every time I watch it. This is one of those perfect examples of a movie that I watch thousands of times, and every time I'm just as excited as I was the first time, and I'm on the edge of my seat every time, even though I know what the outcome is. And this looks fantastic on 4K in HDR with the IMAX scenes, which I hadn't seen before until this. Yeah, this was just totally worth it. Totally worth the upgrade. Just an awesome movie. If you haven't seen it and you need me to set it up for you, the Earth is slowly on its way towards its death, and we are trying to find a planet to live on that isn't Earth. So Matthew McConaughey and a group of other scientists all take a trip through a wormhole to find a new planet to live on. Everything else that happens afterwards is an awesome trip. This movie's great. Next up is one I happened to find the slipcover for, and I just had to buy it because it is one of my favorite horror movies of all time, probably a lot of people's. Suspiria, done by Synapse Films. This movie is amazing if you haven't seen it, and this HDR copy of it on 4K is so good. Synapse really did a really good release of this film. This movie is amazing if you haven't seen it. It's an Italian horror movie, although in English, about a woman going to a ballet school in Germany. That's all I'm going to tell you, because everything else is very exciting, and this cover is super cool. Plus, this cover's cool, but you know which one is better? If we take this slip cover off, you've got this. This is awesome. Yeah, this movie's great. Last month we looked at 2 Halloween movies that I happened to pick up on 4K, which I had wanted for a long time, which were the original Halloween and Halloween 3. Now, like I said last time, I didn't pick up Halloween 2 because I don't care for that movie and I only really want to pick up the ones that I do enjoy. And to fill out the last of the Halloween 4K movies that I enjoy, that I did want, the Halloween 2018 requel, I think we call it, right? Remake sequel. This was great. I loved this 2018 release. Did not like Halloween Kills though. That was just an awful sequel, but I did happen to like this. And I happened to find it on 4K after looking for a long time. I'd actually been looking for a couple months already, even before I had started the show, to try and get the 4K copy of it with the slipcover, and I happened to find it finally, so here it is in my hands. If you haven't seen this requel, I've been we'll call it sequel from now on, because requel sounds weird. If you haven't seen it, I've been thinking, should I watch it? If you enjoy the first Halloween, you'll more than likely enjoy this one a lot too. A little more brutal, a little more like blunt force violence, which is fine by me, because I feel like it makes Michael Myers way more intimidating. And yeah, sure, there are a couple little plot moments in the movie that aren't the greatest, but ultimately I think it sums up to a really good movie that I heavily enjoyed. Now, the only other Halloween movie I can think of that I would want on 4K but doesn't have a release is maybe like H2O, but even then I'd have to really debate with myself on that one. Next up, yet another 4K, we got Overlord. Overlord was an awesome horror movie from 2018 that not enough people watched. I think one of the reviews I saw was, not that good, definitely going to become a cult classic, to which I said, yup, it'll definitely become a cult classic, because this was great. Overlord is a movie about paratroopers in World War II that happen to land in a village in, I believe, France, not Germany. Let me find out here. Paratroopers, not... it doesn't say. I believe they land in Nazi-occupied France during World War II, and they find out some very dark and very scary things. This movie was super good. Produced by J.J. Abrams. Originally, this movie was announced to be a part of the... I think they called it the Cloververse, the Cloverfield universe, because this came out not that long after the Cloverfield Paradox, which I didn't enjoy when it came out on Netflix. But when I watched this one, I was hesitant. I was like, oh man, hopefully it doesn't have that weird stuff. But man, this was super fun. I guarantee you it almost has nothing to do with Cloverfield after the fact, which is so good. I'm happy that J.J. Abrams just left this one alone as opposed to like he did with 10 Cloverfield Lane. And yeah, super fun. Last and finally, but definitely not least on 4K, The Suicide Squad, directed by James Gunn, with our favorite little sticker there, Certified Fresh by Rotten Tomatoes, which will not focus for some reason. There we go. Anyway, yeah, found this one for cheap, very cheap, because someone wanted to sell it for very cheap. So now I have what I call the unofficial Harley Quinn trilogy, which is the original Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey, and the Suicide Squad. Can't wait to see whatever Margot Robbie ends up doing next, but obviously this isn't just about her and Margot Robbie and Harley Quinn and whatever. This is about a gigantic, hilarious movie that I've yet to see. Yeah, I bought this one blind. I have to watch this one. I'm probably going to watch it right after this, if I'm going to be completely honest. But yeah, this looks like fun. I can't wait to check it out, and I'm happy to have gotten it for super cheap, as well as all of the 4Ks I got this month. Editor me here again. Sorry, the audio for some reason messed up on the end card here, so we're just going to use the footage, so you'll probably see my hand moving stuff around, but whatever. Thank you guys so much for watching. If there's anything that you've collected recently, whether it be physical media or something else, I want you to leave a comment. I want to talk about it with you. I want to see what you got. I love hearing what new cool things people get, so go ahead, write that down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, and if you want to see more like this, there are other episodes of Miscellanea Macabre, which I'll leave a playlist hopefully at the end, as well. If you want to see me do more of these, as well as the other vast variety of content I have on the channel, from reviewing nostalgic commercials once, playing video games, reviewing horror movies, give me a subscribe and you'll see more of it. You'll definitely see another Miscellanea Macabre at the end of the month. As for where you can find me, I just recently started putting out my Letterboxd, which is letterboxd.com/hardboiledboy. I'll have some star reviews for movies of stuff. If you want to see if you can contact me in there, I don't know if there's a social way of doing that, but if you want to, for some reason, talk to me for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. You can see my email here, hardboiledboy@outlook.com, as well. I have a Tumblr up and running, which I've been using for a while, which is hardboiledboy.tumblr.com. It's mostly just a place where I like and reblog film gifs and stuff like that, but check it out if you have a Tumblr or something. As well as twitter.com/hardboiledboy, which I don't use anymore, but maybe I'll try and use it for stuff like this. Regardless, thanks for watching. I hope you had fun, and I hope you remember to enjoy yourself.